Hello everyone and welcome back to Crafts by the Bow. I'm making a card today that I won't be showing you the video for another 4 or 5 weeks because it's a card for my mum's 80th birthday and I don't want her to see it online before I get home to the UK with it. So today's video is going to be using the birthday cheer set and I'm making a carousel card. I don't really know what the cards are called. I saw a card like this on Angelina's Intertwine, I think it was Intertwine, yeah, Intertwine Facebook blog, and I decided to have a go. She'd made hers with one of the papers from last year, one of the birthday memories papers, and she'd cut out all the little characters in there and made it. I think she was making her card for her mum as well. But I decided I was going to use the birthday cheer set, and I also wanted to put a couple of balloons on, and I chose this set, the Balloon Celebration. And I think most people have a set that's got balloons. And we have quite a few sets that match this punch. So I just decided to use this set for the balloons and cut them out with a punch. Now let me show you how to make a part of the card, because you actually need to make 5 cards to put together to make this one special card. So bear with me for a while and then I'll show you how the whole thing goes together and you'll see the whole card. So first of all, what you need is for one of the cards, and remember you're going to times this by 5. So for the base of one of the cards, you need a piece that's 5.5 by 8, and you score on the 8 side at 4 inches. And you need another piece exactly the same, so 5.5 by 8, score it at 4, and then you need scores at 2 inches as well. But what I did was I scored this side at 4 and then I flipped it over and I scored at 2 and I turned it round and scored at 2. If it's easier, you could just score these at 2 and at 6 and then the one on the other side at 4. And then I used my layering ovals and I took the biggest oval and I placed it on this centre score line here, on the one that's got the 3 scores. And I just eyeballed where it was, like the top and the bottom. But I do have a little mark on my ovals just to show me when I'm cutting things out where the, like the centre point at the top and the bottom are. So that if I'm just doing something like this, I know whether I've got the oval centred on the writing or not. So you just cut that out. And what you're left with is this. I know this is a different colour. So here's the piece that's only scored at 4. Here's the piece that's scored at 4, 2 and 6. And you don't actually need this for anything, but I'm saving mine. I always take these kind of pieces to preschool and the kids just love them. They make all sorts of things with them. So for this piece will be the inside piece of the card, and we're going to fold it like this and then fold the sides back on themselves. So you can have it that way, or if you prefer, you can do it that way. It really doesn't matter, whichever way you want it folded. And when you see the whole card, you'll know which way you want to have it folded. And then we're going to put DSP on these. And I've chosen the DSP from the Broadway Bound suite. Let me just get it for you. It's this one of the luxury suites that has some of the gold in. And I've used it a few times, I've got lots of different pieces left, but it is a very pretty paper. I don't have the stamps that go with it, because I didn't want the stamps, but I did want the paper. And I also have some bits left from the paper pumpkin that went with it. For those of you in North America, you'll probably recognise these pieces. and I was going to use some of these on the card, but I totally forgot. I put it on one side, totally forgot, and then after I'd finished making my card, that's when I remembered. So if you have the pieces left over from Paper Pumpkin, use those. Okay, so what you need for this is a piece that's cut at 5 1/4 by 5 1/2 and scored at 2 3/4, and we're going to fold that in half. I know it's got the beautiful gold piece on the back, but that's not the side I want for this. Okay, and I'm going to fold my base card as well. And then we're just going to attach that in here. I'm just going to attach it with Tombow glue, because for this card, you might need to wiggle a few pieces around a little bit. So it's a good job not to use the tear tape for it, or to use a stronger glue that sets quickly. Just because you can't always move the piece into the score line if it's a fast setting glue. See, so I like to sort of line it up, and had I put fast fuse on there or tear tape, I wouldn't be able to move it along, squidge it up to the fold line. And then I'm just going to fold the whole thing. You could go over it with your bone folder just to make sure it's nicely folded. Okay, so that's our inside piece, and we don't need to put anything else on there. But on this one, we're going to put 2 more pieces of DSP, and these ones are cut at 1 3/4 by 5 1/4. And for some of the cards, what I've done is I've got the matching pieces in the background and on the front piece. But for some, I've got different ones. Just whatever you want. Whatever you think looks pretty for your card is going to work really well. Now, it is a bit of a labour of love making this card. It took me all day yesterday preparing the pieces and working out what I wanted to put inside. So, now, I will show you one of the pieces just so you get the idea of what I'm doing. So this is how the piece is going to be, and you see I have like a little balloon hanging in the middle. We're going to hang something almost like a little mobile. We're going to hang something in the middle of each one, and this is where my balloon came in. It isn't actually the colour that I used here. I think this is Lovely Lipstick, but this is Berry Burst. I wonder if I've got one left that's in Lovely Lipstick. No. So just pretend that this one's Lovely Lipstick. So here's my balloon. I stamped it on Lovely Lipstick with the Lovely Lipstick ink, so you can just see the patterning on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of our copper, no, this one's the gold, some of the thread, like the copper thread, the metallic thread. I think Angelina had used a clear sewing thread and said you could also use a fishing line kind of thread as well. She didn't want to be able to see her thread, but I don't mind being able to see this. And then with my tear and tape, I'm going to put a little bit on the back of the balloon. And I'm going to make sure that the thread is right in the centre of the balloon so that it hangs nicely. And then let me just, I'm just going to get my tweezers to pick this up. This little gold thread end, I'm just going to twist it and make it stick onto the tear and tape. And then round the balloon, I'm just going to put some Tombow and stick the piece on that we're pretending is Lovely Lipstick. Stick it onto the back. So that you can't see where the thread is attached. And then we're going to attach it to the inner part of the card. So turn it over and we're looking at the back. Now if you have Scotch tape, this would work better. I just don't have any at my desk at the moment. So I'm just going to use a little bit of tear tape. And I'm going to put it across the middle. Let's put it like this. Across the middle of that fold and the centre of the oval. and I'm going to line it up on my grid paper and work out just whereabouts I want that balloon to be hanging. So I want it about there, and I'm going to stick the gold thread down. I'm going to cut a little bit of it off, and I'm going to do the same as I did on the balloon. And with this piece, I'm going to sort of stick it onto the tear tape. Just so that it doesn't sort of come unravelled or come undone. And then because I haven't got Scotch tape, I'm going to put another piece of tear tape on the back, but I'm not going to take the backing off because I don't want it to stick to anything. And then when we lift that up, you will have your little balloon hanging in the middle. Okay, and then these side pieces we're going to glue to the back of the card like this, so that we've got our little folding card with our hanging balloon. Now what you could do is you could stamp sentiments around the oval if you want to, or you could use some of our cutout words, you know, the little dies that cut words out, little framelets, and the ones that say things like amazing and celebrate. You could put those on. Oops, my finger's sticking to the card already. So there we are. Just make sure it's folded flat. So that's what you need. And you now need 5 of those. And you can make each of them the same. You can do them all the same colour. What I decided to do was to make pink and green. So I've now got 5 of them. Here's one of them that says for your birthday. Another one with the little cupcake in, and this is the cupcake from the birthday cheer set that has the framelets to cut them out as well. So I put it with the backing paper that has, you know, the little cakes and things. If I was using the paper pumpkin, there are some of these cakes already done and cut out. I would probably use those next time. Then here's the one with the balloon, like I showed you earlier. The next one has the little parcel in from the birthday cheer set, and I just coloured it in. We don't have a die that cuts this out, so I just stuck it onto pink card and, you know, fussy cut it out. It's not perfect, but it's done. And then last of all, I have one that I used our numbers and put 80 in. Now this is a little bit different, and it's difficult for you to see because I've hung 2 things in. And I wouldn't recommend doing many with 2 hangers just because the balance isn't quite right. But I wanted one that just, you know, celebrated the fact that my mum was 80. And that's going to be the middle of my carousel. So what you need to do next is decide the order that you want them to go in. And mine is going to go pink, then green, then pink, then green, then pink. And it will set up when you open it, so it's like this. So I'm going to start and glue them. I'm going to start with my first one, which is going to be the one that says for your birthday. And I'm going to attach the back of this one and the front of this one together. And I'm going to use Tombow, just because if I don't get it quite in the right place, I can move it and the card won't be all off balance. Now they are quite thick, these pieces. So, and I found that it's easier to butt them up to each other like this. Oops, she says. Butt them up to each other and then push the one over. And then where they're not quite right, with the Tombow you can just slightly move them. Okay. So that's 2. Then we need our third one. Let's put some glue on here. Once you've got them all made, it's not too much to put them all together. It's just the making of them that I found, you know, was a little bit long-winded. So I'm going to close that one up, butt them up to each other, Lay that one over and then move it slightly if it's not quite right. And you know, it's not going to be quite right. It's very fiddly trying to get the corners together and everything. So that's where that tombow comes into its own, because you can just move it. Let's close that up. So now we've got 3 together. So let's do the next one. The next one will be green. And I'm not actually going to put the one in that I just made with you. I don't really need that one. Let's see if we can do this like this. Now that it's got part of it together, you should be able to stick them together a bit quicker. There we go. Oops. There. Check that they're all stuck together. Yeah. And then last of all is the one with the little balloon, the pink one again. You can see, oops, you can see it gets bulkier and bulkier to try and glue together. But for a wow card and for something special, it's really nice. Make sure I've got it right way around. Oh, I stuck that on the wrong piece. Okay, I'm just going to let that glue dry a little bit because I shouldn't have put it on the pink side. I should have put it on the green side. I had it held upside down. But that's okay because we do put something on there. Okay, let's put this pink one on instead. Just make sure that that doesn't stick onto there. Okay, I'm going to give that a couple of seconds to dry while I make the front and the back pieces. And remember, you won't have glue on that piece because you won't have glued the wrong piece like I did. Okay, so for the front, I've made a piece of black card. I've cut it at 5 1/4 by 3 3/4, and then I've done a white piece at 5 by 3 1/2. And then this little piece here and the stamp. The stamp is an old one that I took from Big on Birthdays because I wanted the sentiment to take up the whole of the card. But you could use whichever sentiment you wanted. And I used the little framelets from here with the cupcakes on. And I'd cut quite a few when I was making the pop-up box a couple of weeks back. And so I just used one of those that I'd already cut out. I glued it to the very bottom and then just trimmed the edges off. And so this is going to be my front. And then for the back, I made the same, just a piece of basic black 5 1/4 by 3 3/4 and a white at 5 by 3 1/2. And then I used this sentiment and I stamped it in crushed curry because I wanted it to look kind of gold and I don't have a gold ink pad. So I stamped that, I cut it out with one of the smaller ovals, I used one of the cupcakes that was left over and one of the scalloped ovals, and this is going to be the back where I can do my writing. Let's see, let's make sure that isn't sticking together. Okay, so for my front, oops, let's pop that in there. Pop all these little cupcakes and things in. My front, I'm going to use this, but before I stick it on, I'm going to put a piece of ribbon. And I did look at the crushed curry ribbon that I had, but I don't know that it's long enough to tie a bow with. Let's see, so I would only have that much. It would be a very small bow. Let's see, so if that was sticking on there, would that be enough for a bow? No, it'd be a bit tight with that. So I'm going to use some of the lemon lime twist. I'll just cut 2 pieces. Doesn't matter how long these are, because I can always trim them later. Okay. So let's go back to the front. Oh, pop those back in again. This won't fit in a regular envelope. You might need to have a little box to fit it in. But I haven't decided what I'm putting mine in yet. Okay, now I'm going to use the tear tape and put it across the middle. Just so that my ribbon sticks on nicely there. You could put it all the way across. If you wanted, you could do one long piece that goes all the way around and holds here as well. In fact, why don't we do that? I know I've cut these 2 pieces, but why don't we do that? So I'm going to stick that there. And then I'm going to extend my tear tape on this side. I can put a bit more on so that it goes around the back as well. That would just keep the spine of it together too. Oops. Take the rest of this off. Okay. Just trim that. There. Oop, that little parcel's escaping again. Okay, now you could put your front and back on dimensionals, but I don't want to add too much extra depth to my card, so I'm going to try mine with the Tombow. You could use tear tape as well. Put a bit extra in the middle where the ribbon is, so that I know it's caught onto the ribbon and it's secured. Squash it down. I've got a little bit of glue on my thumb. I'm trying not to touch it with my thumb. There we are. And then let's go to the back. Now you don't have to put anything on the back if you don't want to. You can just leave your card. I just wanted somewhere to be able to put a sentiment, and there's nowhere inside the card that I could have written. So that's why I went with an extra piece on the back. Move that up a little bit. Oops. There we are. Squash it down. Okay, there we are. So now it's starting to look like a little card that's finished. Oops. A little balloon there has got stuck together. So you can see that when it's opened, you can tie it together. When it's open, and it makes sort of like a little old-fashioned carousel. That kind of a shape anyway. And if I show you each piece, it's tricky to see on camera, I know, because if I lay it down you can't see that little hanging mobiles. Yeah, it's tricky to see these, isn't it? But I think my mum's going to love that. And I don't think anybody else will have made one the same. I think it'll be one of a kind. And then when she's finished looking at it, she can fold it all the way back, make sure all the little mobile pieces are away, and then tie it up. But to be honest, I don't think it's going to spend much time tied up. I think she'll have it out for a while, even after her birthday. trim that end so it's the same. Let's go this way. There we are. And so there, that's my carousel card. If you know what the real name is for this kind of a card, let me know. As I really don't know what it's called. It sort of looks a bit like a star, or I'm just calling it a carousel card. And then if you know something different, let me know and I'll change the name. So there we go. That's my card for my mum's 80th. And I hope she loves it. So thank you very much indeed for watching me. I'll see you all again soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.